Martin Scorsese. Ever heard of him? Arguably the best living director, probably the best American director, and he is now the most popular Letterboxd user. Scorsese's newest film, Killers of the Flower Moon, is about the Osage land in Oklahoma during the 1920s. After oil is discovered, the Osage people become rich, and then they are later murdered one by one, which leads to the rise of the FBI as they later on investigate to see what is happening. It is based on the book with the same title. However, from the research that I did, that book is far more focused on the investigation process, whereas this film is far more focused on Ernest and Molly Burkhart, who are played by Leonardo DiCaprio and Lily Gladstone, and it is also focused on William Hale, who is played by Robert De Niro. Ernest marries Molly so he can eventually get the rights to the land that she owns, though there can be a debate whether or not Ernest truly does have love and sympathy for Molly, but that is for a different video. Scorsese likes to follow certain similar themes in his films. They kind of switch and vary just depending on the topic of the film, but it could be organized or white crime, greed, spirituality, religion, whatever just kind of fits the tone of the film, obviously whatever the story is actually about. While those are big focuses on some of his past films, this may be the first movie that he's done where all of those are blended into one film. Now, I have not seen every Scorsese movie, so if there is a film that follows all of these themes, please let me know so I can go check it out. In a way, this film is not so much more about organized crime like stuff Scorsese has done before. In a way, you could say this is about disorganized crime because the people in this film are pretty half-witted. Not the brightest. I'm only saying this because Scorsese is trying to do things a little bit differently, and I think overall he succeeds with it. He is letting you know early on, hey, this is not really going to be a fun film, and I am in no way saying that this is a boring movie. It is very compelling and enthralling. Scorsese does so many fantastic ways to get you hooked in with these characters and this story. He'll take us in one direction that feels a little familiar from his previous works, but then he switches it. He will back off from the whip pans. The editing will make moments feel a little bit more dreamlike. Even the great score by the late Robbie Robertson is very fun at the beginning, but then it turns into a haunting rhythmic bass and it never steps over its boundaries. It's really somber. It gives you an idea of where you think the movie is going to go, but his music really helps setting the tone for how this movie is going to be. Speaking of musicians, there were plenty of musicians in this ensemble of a cast, and I thought they were pretty good. Pete Thorne and Jack White are playing very small roles, while Sturgill Simpson and Jason Isbell are playing characters that are more concrete to the story. Simpson has been dipping his toes into acting before, but he does have moments to shine in this. I think this is a great step forward in his acting career if he wants to keep doing that. Out of the musicians though, Jason Isbell is the one that impressed me the most. Isbell does have the most screen time out of these four musicians, but he's doing incredible stuff since he has to share the screen a lot with Leonardo DiCaprio. Both of their characters have the exact same goals, but the way these two are approaching it and handling the situation is what makes them different from one another, what makes them more interesting. It adds layers to their characters. Isabel is just tackling it in a very subdued way. Obviously, that may also have to do with the writing and what Scorsese is wanting out of this type of performance, but I think he just does a very good job with it. But the nice thing about these four musicians, more so Simpson and Isbell, these people are from the South and they manifest that Southern type of stance very well. The way they deliver their lines is just very natural. It doesn't feel like they're trying to do an accent. They are obviously using their own regular voices. I should probably go ahead and talk about Leo, who is really given everything he's got. Yeah, he is great in this performance. What else can you expect? I will say though that I think out of the three main characters, Leo is probably the weakest. Part of it has to do with his character Ernest. There are some layers to him that I find interesting, but I think you could probably argue that his motives, his actions are a little repetitive. That is just a very small nitpick though. I don't think it'll bother me that much on a rewatch. Part of also why he is the weakest out of the three is honestly just because Robert De Niro and Lily Gladstone, especially her, are doing some incredible work. De Niro's character has layers. He's playing the type of person that encapsulates an evil man so well. He's really consumed by this role and he is terrific in it. While it is clear to us how his character, William Hale, is involved in this story, it really feels like De Niro is kind of luring over this entire city and you could just feel it. Marty is always able to get a good performance out of De Niro, but De Niro always proves to us he's still got it. So, I mean, what else can I say about that? Also, let's just celebrate we got DiCaprio and De Niro in a Martin Scorsese film finally, and not like a short or anything. This is a legit feature. They have plenty of screen time together. They have incredible chemistry together as well. That alone is a win for cinema. But the big star of the film is Lily Gladstone, who floored me through this entire film. She is in control of every scene she's in. She is the center of it all. You can't help but immediately focus on her because she's playing Molly so patiently and she's just so demanding on the screen. Part of it has to do with those piercing eyes. I hate to sound like a Reddit user saying, wow, acting with eyes. Even when she is off the screen, you can just feel her presence loom over everyone. I haven't felt this way about a performance, honestly, since like Mahershala Ali in Moonlight. His performance is felt through the entire film, even when he's not on screen. Now, I will say there was one performance in the film that felt a little bit out of place, and that was Brendan Fraser. His delivery doesn't match what the ensemble is going for or what the movie is going for. He comes into his dialogue so abruptly. I think part of that has to do with the editing also. The way the film cuts to him so suddenly kind of makes sense for why his delivery feels abrupt. I just think it feels out of place. But also, he is in the movie for like 3 minutes, so it's not a big deal for me. Brendan Fraser got to be in a Martin Scorsese movie, and he got to share the screen with Leonardo DiCaprio and Robert De Niro. I mean, like, we freaking won. That is cinema. And also, Marty said he's got that girth. Brendan Fraser has got the girth. I don't know what else to add to that. I don't know if I'm the only guy that wants to talk about the sound design in this film, but I just want to say it's very ambient, and that's why I like it so much. Aside from gunshots, like, that's obviously very good, but it's more so the background noises that I really adore in this film. Kind of like the score, it's very subtle. You can hear the wind gush through the windows. It gushes around these characters. You can hear the crickets chirping. I don't know what was natural and I don't know what was captured and mixed into the film, but it really just helps make you feel more immersed in this setting. Speaking of being immersed, I have to talk about those costumes. My God, those are amazing costumes. It perfectly captures this time, the community. I have to give a shout out to Jacqueline West and Julie O'Keefe for this, but really what is more important is that they worked with Osage artists for this movie. It makes it more authentic. It's not very stereotypical. It's not generic. On this whole project, Scorsese was very involved with the Osage people in retelling this story. Something I admire for him caring so much about the authenticity. Thing is, though, is that the story is more so focused on Leonardo DiCaprio and the corruption the white people bring to the Osage land, which is a very valid criticism. I do think, though, that Marty does get to capture the perspective of the Osage people very beautifully. There's a red carpet video that was going around by Osage language consultant Christopher Coate, where he shares his thoughts. I'm just going to put the quote here, and feel free to pause and read it. But honestly, what is the point of me even talking about this movie, even trying to criticize it? Because he perfectly sums up the complicated criticism of this film. I think there is some balance between it, but I totally understand the criticism behind it. I will say, though, my complaint is I had a harder sense of telling time. And I don't mean by pacing or like how long the film is. I literally mean like where we are in the timeline of this story. Scorsese does this thing in a lot of his films where he'll just stick with one actor and portray them in a lifetime. In the beginning of this film, Leonardo DiCaprio is playing a 26-year-old man. I do not buy that at all. There are clues, and they talk about in the dialogue about him coming from war. And obviously, like later on, there are visual cues as to giving us an idea of where we are. But I just have a hard time buying currently today Leonardo DiCaprio playing a 26-year-old man. But on the other hand, it's not as distracting as having Leo covered up in so much makeup or using the de-aging effects. Plus, we do get to see DiCaprio and De Niro also be more physical with their acting. Also, I will just briefly talk about the ending. I am not going to spoil it, obviously, but I will say the ending did take me out for a minute because I was not expecting Scorsese to take this in that direction. I totally get what Scorsese is going for with the commentary about true crime, and I really admire it. I was just not expecting that. Scorsese is doing stuff differently in this film to reflect society today with true crime, with racism, with greed. There's so much stuff where I'm just like, wow, this is still crap that we are dealing with today. He's been tackling a lot in his previous films, and including this film, where it may feel dense at times, but it is gut punching. There is still plenty of his style in here that it will feel like a Scorsese film. I just admire him trying to do something different and trying to take a step back, focus on what's more important. The score is great for setting the tone. The acting ensemble is incredible. DiCaprio, De Niro, and Gladstone each have shining moments, but Gladstone just steals the entire film for me. The costumes are beautiful, the sound design is great, and look, 3.5 hours is a long time. That is a long movie. I will not lie. I am not here to say it felt fast or anything like that. I thought the pacing was very steady. I will say though, if you are thinking that this movie is automatically boring because it is 3.5 hours long and you probably don't want to see this film because of that length, then just don't watch it. Don't waste your time. You will complain it's a long film. I'm not interested in hearing that for criticism. There have been plenty of 3-hour films that came out this year and last year. I do not hear a lot of people complain about that. Just deal with it. If you are a fan of Scorsese, you want to see some great filmmaking, then I mean, go check this out. It is worth it. Go make a day out of it. Go see it with some friends. Go talk about it. There is so much more that I want to talk about, but it would make me go into spoiler territory, and this review is already long enough. So I think I'm going to end it here. I'm not sure how many more movies Marty has left in him, but I mean, hey, keep cranking them out, man. I will see all of them. I don't care. But then again, he is also on Letterboxd, so maybe he will just use his time on logging every movie he's seen on there. I am going to give Killers of the Flower Moon a 4.5 out of 5. Thank you so much for watching this. If you made it this far, have you seen Killers of the Flower Moon? Are you going to wait for it to be on Apple TV Plus? I hope you aren't. Go see this in theaters. Did you like it? Did you hate it? What's your favorite Scorsese film? Let me know what I should review next. Please like, comment, subscribe, do whatever you want. Share this if you want to. Make sure you exercise every day, drink your milk. Have a great day.